Something deep within you senses that life as you've known it is on the verge of a major shift. You're weary from the constant uphill battle, each step feeling like a test of your strength and resilience. Yet despite the struggle, there's an inner knowing that this process has a greater purpose. Chosen ones, this is not your imagination. You are being guided, your steps divinely ordered as you're prepared for a breakthrough that demands a strong foundation. If you stay with me for the next 12 minutes, you'll recognize clear signs that you are being shaped for something far greater than you've ever envisioned. Right now, I invite you to like this message, subscribe, and comment 77 below as a declaration that you're open to receive. Then follow up with a second comment in your own words. Ready for what's next? By doing so, you activate a shift in your spirit, setting the stage for a powerful season of transformation. Chapter 1. You felt overwhelmed by the path ahead. You look at your life and notice that each new step feels heavier than the last. The problems didn't vanish when you prayed for relief. In fact, sometimes they seem to multiply. It's like staring at a massive staircase that leads to a place you've only dreamed of, a place of peace, of purpose, of God-ordained success. On your hardest days, you questioned if you had the stamina to climb even one more stair. You asked, why can't I see progress? Or, am I really meant for greatness when all I know is struggle? And yet something inside you refused to quit. Doubts cluttered your mind. Maybe I'm not strong enough. Maybe I didn't hear God correctly. Or maybe I'm simply cursed. But deep down, your spirit couldn't accept these lies. You sensed that every challenge was forging a resilience you didn't know you possessed. Each tear, each setback, was stretching you in ways comfort never could. This is the tension of being chosen. You experience burdens others avoid, yet you also carry the potential for heights others can't fathom. You're not alone in feeling this internal warfare. Many chosen ones across the globe endure trials that look insurmountable. But out of these trials emerges an unbreakable core. When you stand at the bottom of that giant staircase, the voice of fear might say, you're too broken, too late, or too unqualified. Yet the voice of truth, the voice of God, prompts you to trust this process. Each step up that staircase is deliberate. Each struggle is a stepping stone, not a tombstone. Think back on the times you made it through impossible odds. Finances that miraculously came in at the final hour. Emotional wounds that finally found healing, or unexpected mentors who appeared right when you were about to give up. Those weren't coincidences. They were glimpses, reminders that your life is guided by a divine hand. Even your darkest days carried seeds of something extraordinary, germinating in the soil of your tears. Here's a promise. If you keep moving, even if it's one shaky step at a time, you'll glance back someday and realize you've conquered heights you never imagined. It may not feel dramatic. There's no lightning bolt from the sky, but each day's small efforts accumulate into a destiny unfolding before your eyes. The weariness doesn't mean you failed. It means you're pushing against boundaries. Those boundaries are there to be broken, revealing a strength that's been inside you all along. For now, acknowledge that you're not at the summit yet. The top feels distant because it's a place of massive revelation, a vantage point that changes your entire perspective. You had to traverse this slow climb so that once you arrive, you won't just taste success, you'll be equipped to steward it responsibly. This is the hallmark of a chosen one's journey. The agony makes you mindful, humble, and prepared for the magnitude of the blessings that await. Chapter 2. You're learning to trust the process one step at a time. You're wary of hearing people say, trust the process, as if it's some quick fix mantra. In your lowest moments, that phrase sounded hollow. Yet as the trials prolonged, you began to see glimpses of how these pieces fit into a larger tapestry. Step by step, you realized you weren't abandoned, but guided. Every obstacle forced you to develop virtues like patience, courage, and discipline. Even the heartbreaks left behind a residue of wisdom you now carry. This trust isn't passive. It's not about shrugging your shoulders and expecting good things to fall in your lap. It's an active posture of faith, a choice you make each morning when you decide to keep moving despite not seeing the full picture. You sense God nudging you toward daily acts of obedience. Maybe it's learning a new skill, making a difficult phone call, or simply reading something uplifting. In each small act, you plant seeds for a future harvest, and the more you trust, the more you begin to notice signs, tiny miracles or coincidences that confirm you are on the right path. A stranger might offer a crucial piece of advice, or you stumble upon exactly the resource you needed at just the right time. These moments are more than random luck. They're heavenly winks affirming that your painstaking steps are not in vain. By acknowledging them, you build a feedback loop of gratitude and faith, which in turn accelerates your growth. Yet the greatest challenge in trusting the process is resisting the urge to compare. You see others racing ahead, seemingly achieving instant breakthroughs while you trudge along. You wonder if God forgot to bless you, or if you're simply too flawed for quick success. But consider the oak tree that grows sturdy and grand precisely because it took its time. The speed at which someone else climbs is irrelevant to the depth and solidity of your own foundation. And patience often hits hardest when you're on the verge of something monumental. The frustration you feel isn't a sign to quit, it's an invitation to press in deeper. Sometimes God uses the waiting period to refine your motives. Are you doing this for applause or because you're called? Are you seeking short-lived glory or yearning to build something that outlasts? Stripping away illusions, this process cultivates a clarity about what truly matters. In trusting the slow path, you also gain empathy for others who struggle. You learn not to dismiss someone else's journey just because you've battled your own mountains. This empathy becomes a priceless asset if you're called to lead or heal others. People gravitate toward those who have walked through valleys and didn't lose hope. Your scars become badges of honor, proof that resilience is possible. So maintain your faith. Embrace the notion that just one step is enough for today. If you do, you'll find each step easier than the last, your footing sure, and your perspective broader. The summit may still be out of view, but every day you invest in climbing, you inch closer to a vantage point from which your entire path will make sense. With each step, you reaffirm that your life is led by divine timing, not human pressure, and that shift in mindset transforms every tedious climb into an unfolding miracle. Chapter 3, you must confront internal resistance head-on. You've got dreams bigger than your circumstances, but something inside keeps resisting. It could be fear of failure, fear of success, or a nagging voice that says you're not cut out for this. This resistance isn't a sign to retreat. It's actually proof that the path ahead is significant. The enemy doesn't bother erecting walls on empty roads. If you feel intense pushback, it's because your destiny is too consequential for spiritual forces to ignore. Most people mask their resistance with distractions. They'll binge watch shows, overindulge in social media, or pick fights with loved ones. Anything to avoid stepping into the unknown. But you, chosen ones, can't afford that luxury. God is calling you to address your inner hurdles, not bury them. When you confront your doubts, insecurities, and unresolved trauma, you weaken their hold. It's like shining a spotlight on shadows. They can't survive in the presence of truth. One powerful way to tackle internal resistance is through consistent self-examination. Journaling, prayer, or even talking aloud to God can illuminate the root of your hesitation. You might discover old wounds from childhood telling you you'll never measure up, or perhaps cultural or familial pressures make you afraid of outgrowing your circle. Identifying these roots doesn't solve them overnight, but it gives you a starting point. Awareness is the first step to freedom. Another trap is the perfectionism that insists every move must be flawless. You wait for ideal conditions or for yourself to be ready before daring to climb that next stair. But readiness often emerges through action, not before it. The best way to quiet the voice that demands perfection is to do something imperfectly, yet wholeheartedly. Each small accomplishment, no matter how messy, fuels your confidence. Accountability also helps. Confide in a trusted friend or mentor who can remind you of your calling when self-doubt flares. Isolation is when negative thoughts breed. Community, especially with others who share a faith perspective, can be a lifeline. They'll celebrate your tiny victories and help you see your potential when your own eyes are clouded by discouragement. Above all, keep your spiritual armor on. When internal resistance surges, it is often accompanied by external chaos, a sudden crisis, a betrayal, or unforeseen setbacks. These episodes can knock you off balance if you're not guarding your heart and renewing your mind daily. Let your faith-based practices be your fortress. Wake up each day affirming your identity in God, reminding yourself that you're chosen for a specific purpose no one else can fulfill. As you face down your inner barriers, remember that each triumph over fear sets you one step higher on that staircase. Over time, you notice you're not just tackling obstacles, you're transforming into someone who can handle the magnitude of what's at the top. The resistance was never meant to stop you. It's there to refine you. Each breakthrough peels back another layer of your potential, revealing a version of you that's bolder, wiser, and more in tune with God's grand design. Chapter 4. You're strengthening your foundation for bigger blessings. You wonder why your progress feels incremental, almost painfully slow. But consider that God isn't just giving you a quick victory. He's constructing a life that can sustain what's coming next. Like laying a deep-rooted foundation before building upward, each lesson you're internalizing now prevents future collapse. This is how your spiritual architecture is built, gradually, deliberately, ensuring you won't crumble under greater responsibilities or influence. Think about historical, remarkable figures who rose quickly but fell just as fast. Their foundations were fragile, lacking the internal fortitude to handle the weight of fame, power, or scrutiny. Your path differs. The adversity you face now ensures you'll remain standing when the spotlight finally hits. Chosen ones, your calling often involves impacting more people than you realize. That means your character must be unshakable, your ethics uncompromisable, and your emotional maturity on point. In practical terms, strengthening your foundation might involve developing discipline in small tasks. Maybe it's learning to manage a modest income responsibly so you're prepared for larger financial blessings, or building a routine that supports your mental and physical health so you're not derailed by stress. The point is, big blessings require big preparation. If you can't steward the little you have, how can you manage more? You're also forging relational muscles. The climb might have exposed toxic friendships or strained family ties. Painful, yes, but also clarifying. You're learning to say no where you used to say yes, and yes to healthier connections that nourish your spirit. These new standards of relationship will protect you once you ascend to new levels, because not everyone can be trusted with your heart or your vision. The friction you feel now sets boundaries that shield you from greater harm in the future. Spiritual disciplines also matter. Prayer, meditation, worship, or any form of communion with God cements your identity beyond worldly measures. As your foundation solidifies, you're less swayed by opinions or the ups and downs of circumstances. Imagine your life as a skyscraper. You wouldn't rush the foundation. That's your prayer life, your scripture study, your quiet time in God's presence. These aren't just religious routines. They're structural beams in the architecture of your destiny. Often you only appreciate this phase in hindsight. While you're in it, you feel impatience or even jealousy when others seem to pass you by. But God is more interested in your lasting impact than a fleeting moment of success. If you ascend too fast, you might crash under the pressure. By building piece by piece, you ensure the blessings don't crush you, but instead expand your capacity to serve, love, and shine God's light. So next time you feel overlooked or delayed, remind yourself, you're in training for greater things. Embrace each responsibility wholeheartedly, from your daily chores to your spiritual practices, knowing they form the stable ground for a future grander than you've envisioned. The slow pace isn't punishment. It's an act of divine mercy, giving you time to become the vessel worthy of receiving what your heart has longed for all along. Chapter 5. You must release old baggage to ascend higher. You can't climb a towering staircase while letting the burdens of guilt, shame, resentment, or unhealed trauma weigh you down. These weights drain your energy and blur your vision, making each step heavier than necessary. If you believe God is calling you to a higher plane, it's time to discard what no longer serves you. Begin by forgiving yourself, others, or both. True forgiveness isn't about erasing wounds or justifying wrongs. It's about unchaining your spirit from bitterness. Your higher calling demands freedom from grudges. If you hear a voice telling you you're not worthy or destined to fail, let that voice go. Pray for inner healing until its sting subsides. The climb is easier when you're no longer carrying emotional poison. Next, confront regret. Many chosen ones obsess over missed chances or mistakes, convinced they've ruined their future. But only your refusal to learn can stop you now. Acknowledge the blunders, seize their lessons, and press on. God's grace is endless. Self-blame only hinders your progress. Old trauma can also halt your ascent. Betrayals, abuse, or ongoing disappointments leave deep scars. Recognizing the wound is the first step to recovery. Therapy or counseling doesn't signal weak faith. It's a tool God uses for wholeness. You'd seek medical care for a broken bone. Your emotional fractures deserve similar attention. Sometimes you must cast aside cultural or familial expectations. If your soul yearns for creativity, but tradition demands a safe path, that's baggage. Following your true call might upset others, but pleasing people won't replace honoring God's promptings. Even physical clutter can mirror emotional entanglements. If your living space overflows with possessions you rarely use, consider letting them go. Clearing your environment can usher in mental clarity, leaving room for blessings that align with your purpose. As you release these burdens, you'll feel lighter. The steps ahead become less daunting, your mind freer to envision the future rather than replay old hurts. This is when real momentum builds. God doesn't want you edging forward, dragging ghosts behind. He wants you leaping in faith, landing on solid ground, unencumbered by the weight of past pain. So survey your heart and your surroundings. Ask God, what must I let go? Then respond courageously, trusting that every release makes you nimbler and more open to God's wonders. Your next level awaits, and it requires traveling light. Unbound, you can finally ascend with the speed and grace your destiny demands. Chapter 6. You're called to encourage and uplift others on the same path. You might see your battle as unique, yet countless chosen ones endure similar trials of steep climbs and unwavering faith. The lessons you've gleaned through sweat and heartbreak aren't merely for you. God has entrusted them to you so others can discover hope on their journey. By sharing the trials, revelations, and small wins from your path, you offer a roadmap for those still grappling in the shadows. Sometimes you may feel too unstable or uncertain to guide anyone else, yet it's precisely your honesty about struggles that resonates. People crave a real example, not a flawless hero. A lone word of encouragement or a short testimony might spark someone else's breakthrough. Never underestimate empathy's capacity to transform a weary soul. Encouragement doesn't require a massive platform or polished performance. It can occur in hushed, private moments. A comment on social media, a direct message, or a heartfelt conversation. You become a beacon of hope when you dare to say, "I've been there and God carried me." Each time you comfort others, you also reinforce your own faith. By pouring into them, you bolster your purpose, making your own steps more resolute. You may find that teaching, mentoring, or advising forms a hidden part of your destiny. Whether you lead a small study group, craft uplifting content, or write a memoir, your words can serve as lifelines. The goal isn't to glorify hardships, it's to spotlight the resilience forged by faith. Share wisely. Authenticity matters, but oversharing can overshadow the real message. Seek the balance that highlights God's sustaining power, rather than merely recounting struggles. Being an encourager also means you stay open to learning. As you uplift others, they may share insights that spark your next growth phase. This mutual exchange binds the chosen community, creating a supportive lattice of wisdom, empathy, and trust. You reinforce each other's resolve, discovering strength together that you might not have found alone. Not everyone will welcome your compassion. Some may belittle your perspective or accuse you of oversimplifying others might be the end of the influence you gain. Keep your mission clear. You're not here to prove your worth or please everyone. You're here to impart truth and breathe life into weary souls. Grounded in that focus, you won't be derailed by criticism. Ultimately, step into your role as a guide for those struggling at the base of life's metaphorical staircase. By recounting how you overcame each stumbling block, you reassure them the climb is possible. This is your sacred service, converting private battles into public testimonies of grace. Each time you offer encouragement, You strengthen your own grip on God's faithful plan, experiencing the twofold blessing that lifts both you and those you serve. Chapter 7. You are on the verge of a divine unveiling. You sense it, a hush in your spirit, the calm before an event so monumental that your entire life story pivots. Each day of faith-driven perseverance brings you closer to the moment when God reveals why He's been refining you so intensely. It's like climbing the final steps of a steep staircase. Your legs tremble, yet this isn't the time to collapse or sprint recklessly. Instead, pause, breathe, and remember every divine promise spoken in your darkest valleys. What you feel now isn't defeat, but a surge of impending victory. Heaven is set to unveil a new season where everything changes. Recall the seeds of desire God planted in your heart. Visions of a business, ministry, creative endeavor, or healing mission. Those dreams never died. They've been germinating, poised to burst forth at the perfect moment. You're not waiting on random luck. You've prepared, overcome barriers that would crush lesser spirits. Heaven noticed every step. In these closing moments, you might experience both anticipation and vulnerability, an odd blend that underscores your humanity. Embrace this duality. It's proof you're alive, shaped by victory as well as uncertainty. Let your prayers and affirmations ground you, while even the smallest confirmations take on deeper significance, reminding you that you're ready for what's next. The coming reveal won't make life flawless. Greater influence draws greater challenges. Yet, you're now equipped. The climb taught humility, perseverance, and reliance on God. Your scars become badges of authenticity, proof you survived the fires of testing. Others will sense your genuineness, drawn more to your lived experiences than to an untested facade. Even as you stand at this threshold, remain anchored in gratitude. The mountaintop is a gift, but the valleys that shaped you are equally precious. Humility will protect your heart from the pride that can derail even the greatest destinies. A thankful spirit steadies you when fierce winds threaten your balance. If you haven't yet, take a moment to like this message, subscribe and comment 77, followed by ready for what's next, to affirm your commitment. This simple act is a declaration that you're no longer holding back. You're trusting in God's plan and embracing the transformation that lies ahead. Hold your head high. You've earned this perspective. Pause for a moment to acknowledge how far you've come, allowing that awareness to deepen your gratitude. Then move forward with steady determination. This journey goes beyond personal success. It's about stepping into the divine purpose that only you can fulfill. As you stand on the edge of revelation, remember that every tear, every challenge, and every victory has shaped you for this defining moment as one of God's chosen.